Welcome back to Not Quite My Tempo with Chris. Last weekend, we got another historical drama from Angel Studios this summer, The Brink of War. Directed by Michael Russell Gunn, President Reagan races to save a nuclear deal with Soviet President Mikhail Gorbachev as pressure mounts all around him. Every word spoken could move the world closer to peace or destruction. I'd only heard of this movie recently when I saw the trailer before another Angel Studios movie this summer, Young Washington. I did not really end up caring for Young Washington so much. This movie looked pretty interesting though, as a very much dialogue-based historical film, tackling these crucial real-world events. And while I don't think this is the best version this film could have been, I found it fairly engaging and a solid historical film. Comparing this to something like a Young Washington from earlier this summer, that movie had more of a war action energy to it with these massive battles in Washington's early days in the military. Here, this film is a lot more low-key and grounded. It takes place almost entirely in this house in Iceland where Reagan and Gorbachev are trying to come to these agreements on disarming their nuclear weapons and assuring peace for the future of the world. It's a very much dialogue-based film. Many scenes of these two in an office talking drive this film, and I love the power of dialogue and how engaging people in a room talking can be as a cinematic experience. And in this film, there are compelling themes at play here. With the story, it's of course an important part of history, these ideas of mutually assured destruction, the need for cooperation, and the mutual goal of achieving peace, but each side having demands and ways that peace is being prevented. There's points in the script and dialogue where the characters really develop these themes in profound ways, and shows the power of cooperation and understanding each other, the power of peace instead of pointing weapons at one another. There's also moments where you feel this peace being threatened, seeing the divides between the characters, seeing how they are unwilling to compromise on points that, if they compromise, could bring them closer to peace. You feel the frustration and danger of when they are arguing, feeling the cooperation falling apart. There's some back and forth that captures the stress of this really well. Now, the dialogue here isn't the strongest. It gets a little stiff at points. There's some bluntness to it without enough layers that makes it a little dull at points. There's also some corny moments that feel very sensationalized. I get it's a Hollywood adaptation of these events, but it took me out of it at points. For being a fully dialogue-based film, the dialogue doesn't quite have that punch to it in layering that makes it super engaging. It's definitely good, but there are exchanges that don't have that engrossing energy and feels a little more forced. Talking about the performances, Jeff Daniels and Jared Harris are solid here. They bring the complexity of these men in very powerful positions that can be so stubborn in their goals and positions, but both deep down do seem to want peace. With some of the dialogue, they can get a little stiff as well. Even as they are politicians, they don't quite have that screen presence or intensity in a lot of scenes that can make things less engaging. I think the film overall has a very tight energy that can make it feel a tad bland, with some exceptions though. There's points where you feel the pressure building, some moments of rage and intensity, but overall, I could have used a little more from the dialogue and performances to really get into this one. I enjoyed The Brink of War. It's an important part of history depicted with decent dialogue and lead performances, but it can feel stiff, and I can imagine a better version of a film depicting these events. Still, if you're into history, it's worth checking out, I feel. I give The Brink of War a 68 out of 100. That's gonna be it for me today on Not Quite My Tempo with Chris. I'll be back on Saturday with a review of the new Jason Statham action film Mutiny, but until then, enjoy.